Welcome to another edition of the Sim Racing Garage. I'm Barry Rowland, and in this episode, we'll be reviewing the Formula Pro F1 wheel from the guys at Cube Controls. Now, they also offer a GT wheel and their top-of-the-line Formula wheel called the CSX. After a favorable review of the GT wheel I did last December, let's put this F1 Pro wheel through the SRG's review process and see how it does. So let's get to it. Now for our closer look segment of the Cube Formula Pro wheel. Now, this wheel actually comes in a Pro and a Light version. Now, this is the Pro version, which has the lit buttons, has lights on the buttons, and also has aluminum knobs here. These encoder knobs, and also for the clutch bite point knob, these are CNC'd aluminum, and available in different colors. Right here, they're black. So that's really the only differences, and there's a €100 difference in the cost of the wheel. Now, this wheel is actually a 270 millimeter wide wheel. They also have an option of a 280 millimeter, which is really a fatter grip than this one, the 270. And I'm kind of partial to fatter grips when I'm racing with a wheel. The Turn R1 is my favorite wheel so far because it's a nice fat grip on it. Not that there's anything wrong with these, obviously, but anyway, it's just a personal preference and totally subjective. Right, so let's take a look at the overall appearance here. We've got the Cube logo here, and that's laser etched or silk screened onto the aluminum housing, a very nice aluminum housing, and you can see it has some beveling going on all around the housing here, and that's a very nice touch on the tops and the bottoms and all around the sides. You can see the beveling down here. So a very attractive case on here, and even where the USB connector is located, you can see it has some beveling in the actual bevel. So yeah, very nice design here, very similar to the GT Cube wheel that I reviewed from Spinner Simulation a while back. Again, just very nice, top quality stuff here. The blue aluminum anodized rear controls here. We have the hub. Now this hub is a 50.8 millimeter spaced hub, so you will need a quick release that will fit that. I have one, so a 70 millimeter quick release, wheel side quick release adapter won't work on this. You have to have the 50.8. Right. We have blue anodized arms here on the shifters and clutches. Very good looking. I don't know how well this is translating on my video, but you can see down there it's even got the Cube logo on the bottom of the shifters down here. Now, these shifters feel great right off the bat. They have magnets controlling the shifters themselves, and on the bottom we have the clutch, the bite point clutch paddle, and the main or master clutch paddle here, and they are actually spring activated, and you can see there's actually some springs in here. See if you guys get a shot of that on these right here. So there's a spring return, although there is a magnet on the actual paddle. And that is because this is a Hall sensor type of setup. Both the shifters and the clutch paddles, they're calling them switchless, which usually means it's a Hall effect sensor. So there's a magnet here, and the further that magnet gets away from that little sensor pad there, you can see underneath, then the weaker the magnetic signal, and that will let the sensor know what position that paddle is in. Same thing with the main or master clutch paddle over here. You can see a little sensor pad under there. Now, on the shifters themselves, it's just a magnet to magnet, which gives it that nice crisp magnetic feel that we all love so much. If you've ever used one, you know what I mean. And yeah, these are also, though, there's no switches on the other side, or this lever here is not manipulating a switch. Let me turn around so you guys see it that way. There's actually a Hall sensor setup on this also. So very cool. Hall sensors obviously mean this wheel is going to have, at least the shifters and these paddles should have a very long life cycle. No switches to get involved with anything. And a mechanical switch obviously is another wear point. Not to say that it will wear out, but it is another wear point. So when we eliminate that, it's always a good thing. Again, these magnet shifter feel very, very good, very crisp, a very short throw. I'm used to a little bit longer throw on my Asher Racing button plate, but this is very, very nice. I really enjoyed using it. Just a very short throw, but a very crisp click to it, and very tactile too when you're using it. You can really feel it. Right, so let's go around and see how many buttons we have on here. First off, we've got this nice joy switch type button. So you can get a look at it there. And this actually is an encoder, and it has a push button on it, and we have switches going left, right, up, and down. So there's 7 positions there, and it's a very nice tactile feel to this. I don't know how well you guys can hear that. Let me put it up next to my... Very nice tactile feel, very small incremental moves on it, on this dial. Yeah, I really like this. And same thing with when it's got a very nice tactile feel to it when you're going up or down with it and pushing it down also. So a very nice little joystick here. I almost wish they put another one over here because that gives us 7 different moves here, or buttons that we can press. Now, there's a lot in here. It's like 34, I think I counted. If you had 7, then we've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then we've got 15, 16 on each one of these encoders. And these are very nice also. The whole thing is just, all the switches are just such a high quality feel to them when you turn them. And of course, these knobs are actually anodized aluminum, which have a nice feel to the finger. But I use gloves, so I really can't tell the difference when I'm actually using a glove between the aluminum and a really, really hard plastic or urethane. But these, again, are very nicely done, very crisp. They all feel identical. There's not one that feels more crisp than the other, which is sometimes you find that when you have a wheel with a lot of different encoders on it. So very consistent there, which is another nice thing. So again, we've got, let's see, where was I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. Then this is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So there's 30 on the front. Then we've got this encoder over here. It'll go one way or the other, so that's 2 more. That makes it 32. And of course, our other encoder over here on this aluminum knob, and that'll make it 34. And if I guess we can count this bite point, right, as 35, because this is actually very smooth. You can't hear anything when you're moving it because it's setting the bite point for the clutch. And we'll go over that a little bit once we get there. Right. Again, overall, the appearance of the wheel, as you guys can probably tell from this video, is very, very nice. And yeah, it's all high quality, top grade stuff. Super commercial, professional type finish all around on the wheel. We have a nice thick, it looks like, I think it was a 4 mil or 5 mil. See the thickness there of that front carbon fiber plate that they're using to cover the housing back here. And we'll see how that works when we get to the look inside. Now on the bottom we have the connection for the USB. Now really there's no, if you look on the back here, there's really no other place to put this connector. See how there's really no room here or up here because it's an F1 wheel. It's very compact. That's really the only place that they had to put it. And it will unscrew this. It's got a nice little cap on it here that's actually attached with a tether. And we can see a 5-pin DIN type connector in there. And it's keyed so it will fit. Let me get this cable over here. The other part, which is actually the cable. So you can see the little key on that too. You see a little red rubber seal in there too. So that's a good dust seal in there. This cap also has a dust seal in it. Again, just the little details like that really stand out to me when I'm looking at something, that they went to the trouble to do that. So it has a tether so you can always put it back on if you don't want to use it anymore. Or if you're letting it rest and you're using something else. Now this is keyed, this plug here. It's got some nice blue contrast to it too. I really, like I said, it goes with the whole scheme of this wheel. And it's actually got a way that you put this on, and it's kind of like a triangle. Well, you guys can see that grooves in there that will fit in this one. And one of them is bigger than the other two. So you got to find the big one, and I believe it's over here. There it is. So once you find the big slot, which happens to be on that side, and you can see there's a big slot on the bottom and 2 smaller ones on the top. So once we have that in there, obviously you're just going to push it in, and then we'll screw it on. Now, this does hang down a bit as far as the cable-gable section of it. But really, if you think about it, it's not hanging down any more than when you turn this wheel. If we turn it and rotate it, this wheel's going to come down a lot further than this plug will ever be hanging down. Plus, I can't see any interference problems with this. And when I was using it, I never even noticed it. And of course, I'm not in an F1 driving position. I'm more in a GT type of driving position when I race. But yeah, I don't see any problem with this. Now, back when I did the GT wheel review, now this kind of connector where it came out of the bottom of their button plate did present a problem with some wheels as far as fitment, being able to put that button plate on it because of the bottom part of the wheel would bump into it. But there were wheels, obviously, if you looked at that video, that did fit it fine with no problem. Right, so what else can we talk about? Red grips. I like colored grips, but the only problem with colored grip is it looks pretty when it's brand new, but once you start using it, and you're using it with black gloves, or even just using it with your bare hands, and the dirt from your hands and the sweat from your hands or oil gets on this, and it starts discoloring it. And you can see, I'm not sure how well this is showing up, but there's some dark areas here already on this grip. Now, I got this grip secondhand. Someone else had already had a brand new, and I actually used some 409, some degreaser, and to clean it up a lot. It was actually darker than this when I first got it. And yeah, so, but that's, you know, it's not a knock against this wheel. It's a knock against colored grips in general. They sure look nice, but once you start using them, they start to get stained, and it's really, I couldn't get the stain off here. I tried several different things. I couldn't get it all the way off because this rubber or urethane, whether we're using here for the grip, which by the way is very nice feeling, is porous enough to, it just locks in there. And I guess because it's stretchy, the pores stretch out and then they snap back, and it's hard to get down in there and get it out. But anyway, just a thing with colored grips in general. Be it suede, be it rubber, if you're using gloves or your hands, it's just going to discolor eventually. Yellow, blue, I've had yellow, I've had red, and every one of them had the same issue, which is just one of those things with colored grips that you have to deal with. But it does have a nice contrast, I must say, with the red and the blue. I think that really has a nice contrast, of course, with the black in the front. So it's a very attractive, good-looking wheel. I think if I ordered this, I'd probably go ahead and just get the black grips. But it does look nice in red when it's brand new, and it still looks kind of nice, but I just don't like the dirty look of the handles on it once these colored grips start turning on you. Right. Anything else we want to talk about here? Let's see. This is available, I already said that, in the 280, which gives it a bigger grip. Unfortunately, this is the 270. I would have liked to try the 280 too. Of course, we want to try everything, don't we? And also, there's another version of their F1 wheel called the CSX, and that is a very nice looking wheel. It has a screen on it, it has lit buttons, and yeah, that's a very sweet looking trick wheel there. And of course, it comes in about 1,500 euros. And to be honest, for high quality wheels, it seems like it would be a pretty good deal. Maybe someday I'll have one of those in here to actually test. Right. Anything else we're going to talk about? We already talked about the sensors, they're switchless, the size of the hub. Oh, by the way, these are 5mm tapped holes in here, 5mm that are 0.8 pitch. And we're just going to bolt a Q1R release to this when we get to that point. They're available in different colors. You can get different anodized colors on these things. You can get, let's see, the button colors. You can go from, I think it's black, blue, and red. Right. And we also have these little black accents. You see how these are sticking up, little guards, or what they call their button frames. And you can see that I got little ones around here, the bigger one over here. Kind of turn it sideways, you can better look at that. So you can actually, when you're using this wheel, let's say you're under VR goggles, you can actually feel around and use that as your starting point of where the other buttons should be when you're actually using this. And of course, we have them around here, and we have them around the big ones on the end there. So again, a very nice little detail that they've done here with these shields, or what they call the button frames. Yeah, very nicely done. This whole thing is well presented, I think, and just, you can tell as soon as you get it in your hand, it's a professional unit, and I had a lot of fun using it, actually, and we'll see some video of that later. Right, so what else can we talk about? Well, the USB cord is the only thing I haven't said anything about, I think, and it's a very nice quality USB cord, and yeah, nice shielding in here. It's just a very, everything about this whole wheel setup is very nice, and there's plenty of length here, I think, to reach to someone's computer. I usually take a length of this and wrap it around the back of the, once it's attached, of the shaft coming out of the motor, and then have the other end going off to the USB connection. Just for, so it, when I turn it, it's not just the whole thing hanging down. It actually takes up a little bit of that slack. And we got enough springiness here that you can actually turn the wheel once or twice and it'll still wrap around with no problem. Right. Anything else we want to talk about here? I think that's it. And well, before I do that, before I get to the actual look inside, let me go ahead and plug this in so we can see what the lights look like. Because it looks pretty cool, actually. I do like the lights. There we go. All right, so let me go ahead and turn this light off so you guys can get a better look at what these lights actually look like. There you go, that's better. So you can see how, I'm going to give the angle here. These are clear buttons. And again, the light version of this doesn't have this light function, even though it still has the clear buttons. So very cool looking lights. Now it's got a nice feature here. If you're going to neutral and we're in a Formula One car, we use a button for that. Then you know that you're in neutral by pushing the button. And it's got the N up there. And then you press it again and it stops flashing. Now there's no way for you to program or control that. It is what it is. That's the default setup and that's what you get. So if you want to use it for something else, you know, again, I would love it if we can control these lights a little bit, turn them up, turn them down, and maybe tell which ones flash or don't. But I know that's probably a limitation of the controller board, the custom board I'm sure that's inside of here. Right, and this one over here for pits, for P, is also flashing. Very cool actually when you go into pits and you hit your button and it's flashing. Then we have, these are just regular switches. So that's one switch right there. That's a move. So if I wanted to turn something on or off, then I would use that. But you can see they actually light up when you're driving. Give you a little look there. And that will let you know when the switch is on or off. And the rest of them just stay lit all the time. Again, if you're using VR, this is not such an important thing. It's kind of like having a screen or something. It's not that important, but it does look cool. When you turn the lights down and you're running with this and you're running your triple screen or a single screen setup, it looks very, very cool, I must say. It just has a great look to it. And it looks even better when you turn it sideways because you can see more of the light coming around the sides. But in real life, in real time, video really can't convey how well this looks or how good this looks. You have to actually be using it. It's just one of those things that video just can't show you too well. Right. So yeah, what we'll do next is go ahead and take a quick peek on the inside. We can actually see a little bit. Let me turn my light back on. We actually see a little bit of what's going on back here. We can see a little electronics chip back there, a little package, electronics package. Part of the controller that's controlling all the lights and the shifters and the hall sensors and such. So we'll take a quick look on the inside to see what this stuff looks like when we come back. So here we are with the look inside segment, and you can see that there's a very nice PCB board in here, and it is a custom unit and it's white. I was a little surprised when I pulled it off to see that. I haven't seen very many white PCB boards, but again, when you make your custom boards, you can get them any way you want to. We have cube controls silk screened on here, and the revision number on the bottom here, and who actually made it. I'm not sure if I'm going to get enough focus for you guys to read that, but I'll try to get it in there. There it is. And really not a lot to go over here. It's just a PCB board, everything's surface mounted, and we can see the clear plastic buttons here that allow the LEDs that are in the middle of those buttons to shine through. And we do have the resistor right here, and that's embedded over here in the PCB. And that's for changing the resistance of the potentiometer that this is connected to. A very nice, smooth, silky smooth feeling potentiometer, by the way, for the setting the bite point for our dual clutch system. Now, really the only thing else of interest here is the red LEDs that show up on these switches. You see, it actually has, these are actually little LEDs up in here. You see one over here. And you got two more surrounding it, and they will glow red when we turn it on and shine through this little plastic piece there. You can see how it's kind of clear plastic embedded in this shield or plate that allows those red LEDs to shine up and diffuses them so it looks like a solid red ring. Very cool. And again, our nice 4mm carbon fiber front plate here that the actual handles are attached to. So you can see how that's made up. And yeah, just not a lot more to see here on this. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a very professional job. You know, this is the kind of things that you want to see when you open your wheel. It's very well designed, very well it's very well laid out as far as I can tell. We've got some plugs coming up here for the upshift and the downshift. I don't see any adjustments on these plugs. These are clutches down here. This is the clutch and the other clutch. And it doesn't really have them labeled because they're both just the clutches. But over here we have an upshift label on that plug. I doubt you'll be able to read it, but I'll get it close as I can. One's upshift and one's downshift. Here's the other one. That's the upshift one. So yeah, not much else to see here. Again, very well done, very like I said, it's very nice that it's assembled this way. If you ever have to replace something, it's easy to get into it and do the replacement. I had to pull these knobs off. Again, this is a closer look at those nice CNC machined aluminum knobs, and they have little set screws in there, 1.5 mil. Right, so that's about it. What we'll do now is, well, we'll just get it put back together, and we'll go ahead and put our little quick release on there. We're going to be putting, remember, this is a 50 millimeter pattern back here on this. And I'll just kind of set this here like this. It should be okay. And let me grab these. And I use a Q1R quick release system. And there's the difference between the 70 millimeter and here is a 50 mil. Okay, you can see the back plate differences. So you're going to need the 50 mil, this one right here, to be able to fit to this, like that. And it's just 3 bolts, and you're good to go. So when we come back, we'll have everything buttoned backed up and go ahead and have our quick release ready to go, and then see how we're going to mount it over there on our rig. Okay, so we've got everything back together. Everything's working like it should. We have our 50.8 millimeter spaced Q1R wheel side quick release mounted, and I just used some 5 mil button head screws for that. Nice and tight, very solid. Everything's very solid on this wheel, just as the whole unit. It's just gives you the confidence to be able to wrench on it at will. All right, so what we'll go do now is just go over to the rig, get it attached, and see how it looks from there, and then drive it. All right, so now we've got it mounted to our rig, ready to run. And we'll just kind of walk over this way and see how it's got it kind of connected over here to my, or not kind of, but definitely connected to my Q1R. And we have the coiled USB wire looping around the motor shaft, and then it's going through one of our holes here, secured by a zip tie back to the computer. I use an extension cable because it's so far back even when I have these monitors pushed in where I usually run them in the cart back there pushed in, still a little bit far to get to my box or the computer. Right. Quick look down that side. And yeah, all we got to do now is get in and do some driving sessions, and we'll do some video of that, and I'll get on there and make some comments what I think about this wheel while we're using it. So here we are in iRacing, and we're in the Renault 3.5 car. I'm just going to show you guys some of the lighted buttons here, the neutral button and the pit limiter button. And of course we don't have a neutral button on this car. The 7-way thumb switch here is really nice to use. I really like this. I'm switching between the screens here, but my pit limiter is in the way, but there we go. Turn it off. And you can see, obviously, you can change this within the black box, so that's what I'm doing here. And I've also got the encoders tuned in, or rather programmed in to the, I think it's the traction control and the throttle control, or maybe it's the mapping on it. I can't remember exactly what that was. And I've also mapped the 2 different screens to the bottom encoder there, just so if I didn't want to go through the black box to change it. Right, just showing you guys what it looks like. And really the lights on these buttons, you know, they look better in person. The video doesn't convey as well as it should. I wish it would anyway, to show you guys. These things really are bright and really good looking lights on here. What I'm going to do is go out here to off the concrete onto the asphalt section past turn 1 here and do a launch. This is a great system on here as far as the dual clutch. Very easy to dial in the initial bite point, which is the right hand clutch. And we'll just do a quick launch here in the 3.5, and which is a tricky car to launch, by the way. That thing is got a lot of power in first and second, and it'll spin on you pretty easily. We got a pretty clean launch that time though. So yeah, I really like the way this dual clutch works. You know, I've never had a problem with it in any of the cars I was using, and really it should for, you know, this price point. You would expect something like that. Right, so here we are just going around in another session, same wheel obviously, in the 3.5 Renault, and just getting a feel for the wheel. 270 millimeter. I would have liked to try the 280 millimeter that they have available for this, which really just a fatter handle. I kind of like the fatter handles a bit more than the thinner ones, but of course that's all personal preference, you know, purely subjective. And yeah, this wheel works great. I had a lot of fun using this wheel, and the shifters on it with the Hall sensors, but they have the magnets to give you the crisp tactile feel for your shifts up and down. And yeah, this thing just rattles off like a machine gun, never misses a beat. Like right here, bam, 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 bam. Yeah, it's just, I'm counting down in my head when I do that, how many gears I'm supposed to be going down. I'm not really looking at it, I'm looking through the turn. Also decided to use the wheel in the Ferrari 488 GT3, or is it the GTE? I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, just to give a sensation of what it feels like driving a 10 top or a GT car with a 270 millimeter formula styled wheel. And make no mistake, this is an open wheel type of steering wheel, you know, for like a formula type car. But it works well, and as you might imagine, I don't have any problem controlling a GT car with this wheel either. In fact, some of the GT cars nowadays, you know, they're like 280 to 300 to 280, somewhere in there for most of the GT cars these days. So yeah, really it's a wheel that you could use for GTs also, and not have any problem in controlling the car. And yeah, don't have anything but good things to say about this wheel as far as, you know, the grip feels good, it's not too soft, it's not too hard. I'm sure you'll get a lot of wear and tear out of it, even though being a red grip, it is going to show color, like the black color that you saw before in the closer look section that picks up from the gloves, or if you just use your bare hands, the oils in your hand and the dirt on your hand will get on it. But anyway, yeah, it's a wheel that you can use in multiple cars, I think, and you know, at the price point of almost €1,000, yeah, you might want to just have this one wheel to use for all of your racing needs. And just stuff, maybe you wouldn't be obviously using this for a you know, driving an oval car or a rally car, because you have to spin the wheel around with all the sliding you do in rally. But anything other than that, I think this wheel would suffice. Maybe not a Mazda Miata, but again, we can drive any car with any wheel, and this is really about the Cube Control wheels, and it does a great job. It's all top flight parts on this thing, as you saw in the closer look and the look inside. Just a superbly built wheel, and again, at the price point, we wouldn't expect anything less. So what we'll do next is get on to the final thoughts on the Formula Pro F1 wheel from Cube Controls. Final thoughts on the Cube Formula Pro wheel. This is the second product from the guys at Cube that I have reviewed. The first was a GT wheel sporting the Cube button plate, and I did like that addition of their button plate. Now, we have a Formula styled wheel with the same lighted buttons as the GT, and with the addition of a dual clutch function. The shifters and clutches are all Hall-based units, which should give them a very long life cycle. I found the shifters to have a nice, crisp, tactile feel to them, and with enough paddle adjustability to suit most sim racers' needs, I think. The dual clutch worked very well, and it was really easy to find the proper clutch bite point for any car that I tried it in. And with a total input of 34 on this wheel, I don't think you'll ever find yourself wanting for just a few more button inputs. I could be wrong though. Now, this wheel is the 270mm version of the Formula Pro wheel. It's also available in a 280mm version and in other colors, from the handles to the button shields. The build quality of this wheel is right out there with the best I have used to date. From the beautiful aluminum housing to the custom PCB board used to drive the electronics and the nicely machined aluminum bits, you can tell that no expense was spared here. It even comes with its own custom case. And speaking of expense, this wheel comes in at €999 plus shipping, which puts it at the upper tier for custom wheels. But after seeing how this wheel is built, I think that most would understand why it costs what it does. I think in this case, you do get what you pay for. I'm Barry Rowland. Thanks again for watching the Sim Racing Garage channel. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to support what I do here at the SRG, visit our website at simracinggarage.com.